In this video, I'll explain how to enter advanced point counts online. These are the point counts that use distance bands as well as time intervals when you're recording your data. If you're entering your standard point counts, please refer to the video dedicated to that protocol. It should be noted that this advanced point count protocol is very new, and the online entry is also very new, and we are currently updating the process and should have a new version available for the 2022 field season. Okay, so just like any of the other data entry you're going to do for the Atlas, you've got to head to the Atlas website and log in, and then under Submit for the advanced point counts, the ones with the distance bands that we're talking about right now, you're going to click Special Surveys. And then from here, you need to select your location on the map. So you need to zoom in on your square. I'm going to zoom in here on my home Peterborough square. Okay, so once you zoom in close enough, then the square will show up and all the point count locations will show up as well. The on-road locations are labeled with numbers. The off-road locations are labeled with letters. And it's important to note at this point, this is still a brand new survey protocol in the last few weeks. So we don't have all the bells and whistles set up yet. So if you are creating a new off-road point count location, you're unable to do so at this point. If you want to just get it in as soon as possible, then you can enter it as a standard point count. But if you want to keep it as the advanced point count with the distance bands, then you have to hold off on entering those particular point counts at this point. Anyways, I'm going to select my point count that I'm entering data for. It's point count number 2 for this square, so I'm going to click it. And it pops up, the site chosen is 17TQK11, that's the square name, and then decimal 02, which is the point count number. So I'm going to hit continue, because that's what I wanted. I'm going to select the date, so it's really handy. You can click today. If the count is not done today, then obviously you'll need to use the drop-down, select the correct one. And then the protocol you want to use is the Atlas point count 6 interval. That's what we call the advanced point count protocol, where we have the distance bands. Hit continue. And then it'll load up. You've got the date. You need to enter a start time. And keep in mind this is 24-hour time. Not so much of a worry with point counts since they're all done in the morning. Where 24 and 12-hour time is the same, but still keep that in mind. So I start at 5:05, and then I obviously finished at 5:10. Okay, there's a comments box. This is like your checklist comments. So things like the weather, maybe the noise conditions, just any other things you wanted to add. There are some options for searching and sort of filtering the list. Right now, it's pretty basic, so not much options yet. More will come to help refine your list of possible species. But at this point, you're basically just going to find your species one at a time, enter your counts for each of the interval and distance and time intervals. One sort of handy trick, if you're on your computer, you can use Control F, or I think it's the Apple F if you're using an Apple computer. That brings up the browser's search box. See, it pops up here in the top. So you can use this to quickly jump to a species. And this is a handy feature of web browsers in general, not just for the Atlas data entry, but just in general if you're trying to find something on a web page. So if you were looking for yellow warbler, here it is. And so we're going to start entering. So the first block is the time 1 to 3 time interval and 0 to 50 meter distance band. So I had one there. I had another one 50 to 100 meters, and then the last box, the third box, is the greater than 100 meters in that first time period. I had 2 in that one. Now the next 3 are the same distance bands, but for the last 2-minute interval. So I had one more yellow warbler in this situation in the 0 to 50 meter distance band in the last 2 minutes, but no other yellow warblers. Then I'm going to select my breeding evidence, highest breeding evidence out of any yellow warblers you observed. For point counts, it's almost always just going to be H or S. In this case, it was an S, but you might get lucky and see a pair, or see something carrying food or something like that. And then the last option is the comments box. So this is where you'd add any particular note, especially if it's a rare or unusual species record. You want to add some supporting documentation there. At this point, there's no ability to add media for point counts entered this way. If you do have some media for a rare species documentation, you can just put a note in here that you have it, and when the regional coordinator gets to review the record, they can contact you for it. The other thing that people might be wondering about is how to get the additional species. So something like super rare, say you got a black-bellied whistling duck on your point count. If you're really lucky, you'd hit expand checklist. And once you've done that, it'll bring up all the possible species, things like black-bellied whistling duck, so you can add it in there. So that's it. Once you're done, you got to hit save, and then you can move on and do your next point count. And don't forget to hit finish form once you've saved and entered all of your data.